Example 3 once again looks at word problems. So it's technically attached to R5, but since this strategy fits in with what we're learning about in this lesson, that's why it's appearing here. So it won't be on our assessment, but it will eventually show up as part of R5. So a defender kicks a soccer ball away from her own goal. Okay, and again, for word problems, I find the most challenging part is actually visualizing. So we are talking about a goal on a soccer field. Okay, and the field's extending this way. Like that. Okay, the path, so the defender is standing in front of her net somewhere and she's kicking the ball like this, away from her net. The path of the kicked soccer ball can be approximated by the function h of x. So remember, this is all your output, or your y if you want to call it that. And they give you the equation where x is the horizontal distance in meters from the goal line. Okay, so x is measuring here to here at any given point. And h is the height in meters of the ball. You could determine the distance of the soccer ball from its goal line by solving the corresponding equation. How far is the goal line when it is kicked? Okay, so again, we're dealing with decimals in this case, so I really don't want to have to kind of think about what I'm going to do in terms of factoring, but I can complete the square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out that negative 0.06x, or 0.06, which leaves me with x squared minus 52.8x minus 35.34 equals 0. Again, I want to take half of this, so divided by 2 would be negative 26.4, and square that, which gives me 696.94, nope, not 0.96. I'm actually subtracting 0.06 of this, which would be 41.8, so I'm going to add that out here. 41.8176 technically. Okay, so when I go to rewrite this, I'm left with negative 0.06 x minus 26.4 squared, and then plus 6.4776 equals 0. I'm going to move my constant over and divide by my coefficient here. So I'm with x minus 26.4 squared equals 107. Not sure what's doing that. 107.96. Okay, and so I subtracted this, but then I divided by a negative. That's why my sign ends up staying positive. Again, you can take this in more than one step there. I'm going to take the square root. Leaves me with x minus 26.4, and the square root of 107.96 is going to be 10.39. Just going to keep it at 2 decimals at this point. So plus or minus, and we could even write it just to 1, because it doesn't give us, it says actually the height in meters, yeah. 1 decimal place should be fine for this particular example. We're going to add this 26.4 so that we can isolate x. So finally we get 26.4 plus or minus 10.4 meters. So how far is the ball from the, or how far is the goal line when the ball is actually kicked? Well, if we look at our picture, it's going to be the closer point, not the farther point. So of the two, we're going to choose when it's subtracting. So that's going to be 26.4 minus 10.4, which gives me 16.4, or just 16 rather, meters. How far does the ball travel before it hits the ground? Well, that's going to be the difference between the two. So it starts at 16 meters from the goal line. It finishes at 26.4 plus 10.4 meters, also known as 36.8 meters. If this is my final place and this is my initial place, then the change in its position is going to be the final minus the initial, or 36.8 minus 16, which will give me 20.8 meters. So that's how we can interpret these equations. Now I know it's really hard to kind of visualize to start. I really strongly recommend drawing pictures if you're having a difficulty trying to understand what the word problem is actually asking. So you've got a bunch of practice questions to try in your workbooks. I definitely recommend doing quite a few of them. If you want to come back to the word problems after, when we're actually looking at R5, I don't think that's a bad idea, but be aware that this is one strategy that we can use when we are solving even word problems that involve quadratic equations.